Hey everybody, it's Mike here with an exercise tutorial of sorts. I apologize for the funky camera angle. I don't have a camera person in here, so they're not going to be able to follow me around, and I might need to pick that camera up, which is my phone, not a camera actually, and move this around a little bit. I want to show you a couple of things on the rowing machine. First of all, how to set yourself up properly, and I want to talk about something that's called on these machines that does vary from machine to machine, and it's something called a drag factor. And I just learned about this about a month or so ago watching another YouTube channel of a top level athlete and rower, and I'll talk about that in just a second, because that affects how you feel, how the rowing stroke actually feels on these machines, and it really does vary from machine to machine. I know people will kind of joke, well, this one feels faster than this one, and they're kind of joking, but the reality is each machine actually is a little bit different than the other, and there's a way to even that out, and it's with that little lever, the damper setting they call it, on the side of the machine, but I'll talk about that second. The first thing, as far as setting yourself up in here, most of you know how to do that, but some of you who have been rowing here for a long time, I don't think really do, and you just kind of hop in, and whatever the foot pedal adjustment is set at is where you leave it, and you don't do anything else. The cool thing about these machines is there's really nothing you need to set up. You can't adjust the seat, it's fixed. The actual handle is attached, so there's nothing to adjust there. The adjustability there becomes in how you actually pull that handle and where it hits, and I can cover that in another video. So the only thing that you really have that you can control an adjustment on is your foot positioning, and that's critical because rowing is very much a lower body, leg driven exercise. Yes, your upper body does provide some of the force, but the impetus, the majority of that force is driven from your legs, and you lose the ability to achieve max efficiency and the max momentum possible if you don't have your feet set up correctly. And so what I mean a little bit by that, and I'm not sure how much you'll be able to see, I'll just set one foot up incorrectly here. Sometimes if you have a short person and that's followed by a taller person with a bigger foot, you'll see the foot position like this, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but the top part of my shoe, my foot, is hanging over. So when I push off against this, which I'll need to do to generate a decent amount of force, my top portion of my foot is going to be pushing against air. So you know what that feels like. There's no resistance. And so what that means is that you're going to lack power, and you're going to wonder why somebody rowing next to you is going faster than you or covering more meters or whatever the case is. That's a big reason why. There's other rowing mechanics and efficiency of the stroke that we can talk about. But what you want to do, the basics here, is this little adjustment is adjustable up and down. So you want to get it so that your entire foot is sitting and resting on that platform, so no portion of your shoe is hanging over. And the other key aspect of that, just to double check that, is having the strap pulled around the widest part of your foot. If you do that, then your foot position will be just right, and when you push off there, you're going to have you'll be pushing against resistance. It's like pushing up against a wall. You can do that. If you try and push yourself against air, nothing's going to happen. So make sure you adjust this up or down. So the same thing applies. If you're sitting way too far down here, there's no way that this foot pedal, this strap, is going to cover the correct portion of your foot, and it's going to feel really bad. And the last thing you want to do when you're rowing, especially for any kind of distance, is to have your foot be uncomfortable, because again, since the driving mechanism of this exercise in this machine is your lower body and your legs, your feet are attached to your legs, and if your feet are uncomfortable, the rest of the stroke is going to suffer. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing, and that's where I'm going to probably need to pick this thing up, this camera, video, machine, phone, that's a machine. Anyway, is the damper setting that controls the drag factor. Now, what drag factor, what is that? Drag factor is something that alters the feel of the rowing stroke. So the lower the drag factor is, now we typically, when we come in here, and I am going to have to pick this up, and so let's see, well, I can't do that right here. So I'm going to turn this around, and hopefully you can see that. So that's set at level number 10. Now we have pretty much each of these set that way all the time. Now, over the course of the last few weeks, I've been playing with each of these machines in a good way, playing with them to figure out what is that drag factor on each of these machines. And I don't know if you can see that. So on this particular one, the drag factor is 133. Move to this one, the drag factor is 125. On this one, it's 132. And on the one that's closest to the front doors, it is 118. So that one, the last one over there, that feels the easiest. That's the one that maybe most people row on. And what the differences are between each one, these are all set at damper level number 10, where we typically have these set. So what that means is that the rowing stroke on that one, if you don't adjust the damper setting, that machine is going to feel smoother than any of these other ones. Now certainly these two here that are set at level 10 and have a drag factor in the 132, 133 range, it's going to feel much more difficult, especially those first strokes. And each stroke thereafter is going to feel a little bit more difficult because you're having to pull against a heavier resistance. So you can adjust those to get it so that each one is even. So on the last machine, because that's set the lowest, where I try to get these set, where I have been trying to get these set, is somewhere in the 115 range. And on that video where I discovered what drag factor actually is, the person doing the video talked about collegiate rowers and using these Concept 2 machines, because these are bulletproof. These are the gold standard in the industry, in the exercise industry, and they've been around for as long as I've been working out in gyms, 35, 40 years, something like that. So they've been around forever and they last forever, but they do degrade over time, and they're all built with different manufacturing tolerances, just like cars are. Some cars are bulletproof, some cars have issues. Well, these things over time will degrade based on how often they're used, if there's dust accumulated in there. And so what he was saying, the collegiate rowers, men collegiate rowers, will have the drag factor set somewhere between 120 and 125. And the females will have it set somewhere between 110 to 115, maybe a little bit higher than that. So in order to achieve something like that, each of these needs to be adjusted downward. For the most part, that's going to be somewhere in the 7 to 8 range. And on that one right now, where it's set at 118 with the damper all the way at level number 10, it just needs to come back a little bit to get into that 115 range. So just so you know, if you come in here and want to leave them at level 10, that's fine, whatever you guys want to do. But to have a more consistent feel to it, have it feel more like it would be if you were rowing out on the water, let's talk about drag factor, how to adjust it, how to figure out what it is. You definitely will not be able to see this unless, well, maybe we'll try this and see how herky-jerky it is. So when you hit the menu button initially, you're going to come up with the screen. Well, that one, that was backlit, so I'll hit it again. So you hit the menu button and you can see all those things. There's this button here that says More Options. You hit that More Options button. At the very top, you'll see something called Display Drag Factor. And you hit that little button and it's going to say row to display drag factor. And so what that means is you have to then start rowing, and then whatever damper lever setting you have it, it'll show you what the drag factor is. And then you can adjust from there. So the lower the damper number, the lower the drag factor is going to be on there. Higher it is, the higher the drag factor, and the heavier the stroke's going to be on that. All right, so now you know how to set your feet up, and now you know all about something that you never needed, that you never knew you needed to know about, and that's the drag factor. So that's it for now. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.